What's up, everyone? This is Tyler Severance. Welcome to episode 8 of The Goods, I believe. We're going to go with 8. That was the last one I did. It was 7 with Justin Weber. This is my friend Alex Kerfin.
What's up, guys?
Alex, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure.
Alex is from Richmond, Virginia, born and raised, which I just learned when he talked to my cousin Jordan about 30 minutes ago. My first question for you, Alex, is why do you live in Sleepy Hollow, and why is your best friend Ichabod Crane? Because there was so much fog on the way.
Oh, it's a pretty cozy place once you get used to it.
Yeah, it was. It's funny because the rest of Richmond isn't really like this. When we pulled in, I was like, wow, Alex's crib must be big. This is like very East Coast, but this is like very Southern
Yeah,
East
it's
Coast.
definitely kind of like in the burbs.
The rest of Virginia feels very colonial, and this is like it's like just a little bit further outside of suburban, though. Like the way these neighborhoods are laid out, where they're like very spacious.
This neighborhood's super weird because most of it was built in the 70s, and so all the houses are like kind of a little weird.
Yeah, I like that though, where it's not just all the same. Like in Philly right now, I'm sure you recognize that like basically all the condos are by like 2 or 3 different builders, so like they all look exactly the same, and it's super homogenized and whack, just like competitive yo-yoing. But no, I'm just kidding.
No, it's perfect.
So Alex has been yo-yoing for a super long time. He's been competing in AAA, 1A. Did you compete in any other alternate divisions?
I played 4A for a while.
Okay, I was gonna say off string, but like
yeah.
you've like dipped and dabbled in everything. But like
for sure.
I feel like you did focus on 4A a little bit more.
Yeah, 4A at the start was my first kind of like offshoot division from 1A before I got into 3A.
That's so interesting to me that 4A is like the first alternative division everyone sort of gravitates towards.
I think it's really like the most approachable, and it's like super fun.
Why do you think it's the most approachable? Because I agree with you, but it comes off the string, so it's like...
it's a very like simple concept to wrap your head around.
True.
And, like, it looks really cool.
Like 5A, you really have to learn the mechanics of like a lot more momentum. Like off string, you can kind of haphazardly throw it in the air, and as long as it lands on the string, you're like, damn, I'm good.
Yeah, you can sit there and just kind of bounce it around and, do shit like that, and people think it's, looks good.
Yeah, when I first started getting better at unresponsive yo-yo in 2005, like I first started playing 5A because like a freehand 2 came in the counter, but then I picked up an Aquarius, and I was like telling John Robbie Yo-Yo Club, like, I think I want to compete in 4A. Like, I could see myself doing like well in 4A. It's like, for real? Like, you need to do 5A. And I'm like, no, I think 4A is really where I'm at. And like, I'm not a proficient 4A player by any means. Like, I know like enough to impress like kids, but like, I don't know any new tricks, but it like is so much more impressive now than it was 10, 15 years ago. Like, it was great back then, but it definitely had a stagnant period of like, whatever, 8-9 years where like I forget the guy that won. This was like right when you started yo-yoing in 2006. He won Worlds, and he won before that. Time. He won with a big yo. Did you remember that yo-yo?
I have one somewhere.
And he just did like the most ridiculous off-string tricks, and all the off-string players made fun of him. It was like kind of sad, and it was like a weird juxtaposition because at the time, Hiroki, what is his last name? It's gonna drive me crazy. I think it starts with an F, but he was a AAA player, like the really, really good AAA player, 2007 world champion.
Oh, okay.
I forget his last name.
Yeah.
But like, he was incredible. And then like everyone else in every division was incredible. And then the 4A player, like now I watch it and I'm like, wow, like this is really amazing. But at the time it was just like so cookie cutter and like, damn, like what is...
Yeah,
and people just thought he was cheating because of the yo-yo. They felt like...
Just because it was so big.
People were weird at the time because with yo-yoing now... in competition, like whatever makes sense, people think you're like an idiot if you don't do that.
Yeah,
they're not an idiot, but it's like, oh, obviously they're sacrificing their style or whatever. Not their style, but like they're sacrificing the ability to be able to place in the top 3 so they can yo-yo how they want to on stage.
Yeah, it's definitely something that bugs me a lot about competitive yo-yoing nowadays. I feel like it's, especially coming from me, like I have such a weird style in 3A that it's hard to be super competitive without playing the game a bit,
Oh yeah, I mean with any division it's like that. It's impossible not to play the game. Exactly, that was perfect verbiage of the way that it can be described.
So, it drives me crazy to try to walk the line of doing something that you think is dope and doing something that you think will score well.
Yeah, there was like a really sweet period in yo-yoing, like again right before you got into it, where like people started playing like that more, like right after John Ando won, everyone was kind of like,
Mhm.
oh, you could
Yeah.
like yo-yo at basically a snail's pace, and as long as you do really good tricks, like the judges are gonna notice them and
Yeah,
score
for
them
sure.
really well. And for a couple years, like you could score really well doing like the most asinine tricks. Like
Yeah.
I look at my tricks I used to do back then, and I'm like, this would score so poorly now,
Yeah.
but it just like it looked cool conceptually at the time a little bit. It was just like, wow, like impressive, and I was
Mhm.
consistent. But yeah, so when did you start yo-yoing?
It was end of 2007,
Okay.
just a little bit after Worlds 07.
Okay, cool. What got you interested, or
I found a yo-yo in my friend's garage.
what
And,
friend? Was it a yo-yo player that still yo-yos? Or just
No,
a
no, it
random
was
friend?
old friend from robotics
Okay.
back in high school.
Word. Cool.
But yeah, I like played a bit in kind of like the 98 boom. I remember, having a couple yo-yos and like learning a few tricks with some of my friends. And yeah, so like when I found that yo-yo in 07, I like played around with it a bit, tried to remember a couple tricks, eventually took it home and went on McMaster or
Master Magic?
yeah,
or-
Master Magic,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And looked up some tricks and saw kind of like the more advanced tricks I hadn't seen before, and then I went on to YouTube to I was like, oh, there's got to be some videos on there. And,
Did you have an interesting impression of Andre the first time that you went on to Master Magic? Like before you watched a video, like just looking at him, did you think anything of him, or did you like? I'm gonna tell you a funny story after this.
Yeah,
But
it was it was just kind of like the man, like this guy is like really serious about yo-yos.
Yeah, he does have like like from the outside looking in, he looks very like a serious persona
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
And then
You're like, man, he's taking this really seriously.
yeah, as soon as he opens his mouth, like he's still very serious. You can tell he's a lot
Yeah.
more easygoing
Yeah,
than
for
like
sure.
the outgoing persona, especially like when you look at the artwork on his yo-yo with the dark magic, it's just so serious.
Yeah,
It's
right.
versus like the throw monkey or the flying the dark magic, and it's like holy hell, like this guy's gnarly.
Right.
When I first started yo-yoing again in 2005, Yo-Yo Jam just released a video with Andre and Johnny, like in the actual Yo-Yo Jam factory, like down in
Mhm.
Georgia or wherever the hell it is, and they were both yo-yoing in it. And Johnny's wearing like a black wife beater,
Yeah.
and like Andre's wearing just like a super tight t-shirt, and they were like really good. And I was just like, these guys have to be European. I was like, there's no way that like American dudes are this good at yo-yoing, this handsome. One of them is jacked, the other one is still in pretty good shape, and like they're just, but like this is too much. Like this is some
Right.
like German engineered shit. And then like as soon as I found out they were both from America, I was like, okay, like interesting. Like it was super peculiar, but
Yeah, speaking of the big yo, that was the video that actually got me like really hooked on yoing was Tommy Gunn's Big Yo 2 appreciation video.
that's a great
And,
video.
Yeah, still to this
It's a
day,
fun video.
It's such a good video and
He
holds
does
up really
the
well.
circular grind. Like I'm surprised it hasn't come back.
Yeah.
The
I've tried.
contact
Yeah, I've
juggling
tried for
thing.
years to learn that trick. It's wicked hard.
The
but-
Big Yo was like basically two like styrofoam cereal bowls just inverted with a bearing in the middle. Like as far as weight distribution,
Yeah,
everything was
basically,
concerned,
yeah.
like there was nothing for like rim weight or like it
Yeah.
was just evenly distributed all the way out. It was just big as hell, and it was probably like 120.
Hey, you better
grams
believe
or
I bought one
something.
right after watching that video.
Oh
though,
yeah.
so it
Oh,
looked
okay, so
much
you
fun.
played with one. There you go.
Oh yeah. I
I
still
was-
still have that
That's
first one I
dope.
bought.
Yeah. I need to look at that after we do this.
I'll have to dig
interview.
it out and find it.
But
wherever
it's
it is.
funny because like yeah, the way he was able to do that on that yo-yo, like Tommy did it on other yo-yos too. But
Mhm.
watching that, I was just like, damn. Like playing with the yo-yo later, I was like, oh, that's why it looks a little bit easier on
Yeah.
that yo-yo. Or like, there's a whole I feel like untapped world of those type of grinds. With
For
the
sure,
big
yeah.
yo.
They're just wicked hard and like
Oh yeah, it's
Tommy was good
impossible.
at that type of stuff. He dabbled in pretty much any
Yeah.
skill toy really. So
Justin was telling me this story of speaking of contact juggling balls. Like one of his off-string yo-yos when I was doing his interview had like a melted spot in it. And I was like, what'd you do? Are you using this like an ashtray or something? Haha, because Justin's like super Christian, would never
Right.
smoke anything in his entire life. And he was like, oh no, like my contact juggling ball, like, it's basically like a magnifying glass. So like the sun will come down and like burn a hole. And I was like, what?
yeah,
And he was like, yeah, one time I was at a gig and it like started smoking like this pile of mulch that I was juggling by. And I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, could you imagine like you're just yo-yoing and all of a sudden whatever is behind you is on fire and you're just like, oh my God, I'd burn the school down. My contact juggling ball would
I'm sorry,
happen.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know. Yeah. Like the yo-yo guy burned the school down. I don't know.
The
What
gods of
happened.
Fushigi are shining upon us. The rapture has come.
But yeah, that was an interesting time to be involved in yo-yoing 2007. What kind of yo-yos did you buy at the time? Big Yo, you said.
Yeah, the first yo-yos I bought was a black kick side and a big yo.
Yo-Yo Jam was hot shit. At the
Yeah, for
time.
sure.
Like they were the coolest. They're still great. Like I feel like if they were to come back now as a brand that just had someone doing better like marketing
Yeah.
behind it, or
Yeah.
like just an active team member, like that's all Duncan's
Yeah.
really had. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of stagnant for a while. And then as soon as Brian and Sean kind of got into more active
Mhm.
participatory roles, it like really turned around.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean it's easy. Like you help out with a brand too. So like
Yeah.
as soon as no
Yeah.
one's posting on Instagram for like 2 weeks, everyone's like, oh, I guess they're out of business.
Ah, that
or
brand's
something.
dead.
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
like what? Like what are you talking
No,
about?
come on, man.
Like, yeah.
give us some
We
time.
just sold 200 yo-yos. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like, literally last week before we went dormant for 2 weeks. Like, yeah, it's so crazy. Yeah, I love a lot of Yo-Yo Jam yo-yos,
Yeah.
and it's interesting how many people are kind of selling them now, or
Yeah, I see a lot of them flying around now.
yeah, and they accumulate so much value, but they're really the only yo-yo from back then that just is so temperamental and will like break so
Yeah,
easily.
yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
big yo, luckily, is pretty
It's pretty bulletproof.
pretty
for,
solid, but like it's
for when it was released.
yeah, it's not like, you know, the most sentimentally yo-yo
Yeah,
you're gonna
right,
pull out and
right.
play all the time. Be like, oh, it's just, you know, a coffee table piece. I just
Yeah,
keep
right,
there.
right.
It's like a novelty you have in a cardboard box in your office.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun time to come up through yo-yoing. I'm glad I did it then. It was right. It was right when like most people were starting to come up and play unresponsive right away,
Yeah.
and I still learned playing responsive initially, which I think did a lot for me early on. There was a lot of cool like innovations and stuff. I remember my first metal yo-yo was a luchador,
Oh man.
and to have that as the first metal yo-yo was pretty sick.
The luchador was a yo-yo that was like, it was V-shaped, but it was just super sharp.
Yeah.
Like it was not razor sharp, but like equivalent to
really
like
sharp,
an
yeah.
OAS yo-yo. It was very sharp. Like if you caught it too hard, it wouldn't cut you. Like it would definitely cut your knuckle.
It'd mess
or
you up if you
something,
caught like your forehead or something. With it,
Oh
but
yeah, that would be crazy.
it's great yo-yo.
I feel like I saw someone on the extreme spin forum or whatever, like throw it and like I took one to the forehead and I threw it as hard as I could. And I
Yeah.
was like, holy
There's
shit.
a
like,
bunch of extreme swing guys that were big into the luchador. So yeah, Ed was on there.
What an interesting time to come up. I totally forgot about that yo-yo. I wonder what that guy does now or what he's doing.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know.
because even the logo for the luchador, like the name, the idea behind it, like it had some really good.
It was super sick.
Yeah, like it had solid bones, and then he did the mini yo-yo, and like he did
Yeah,
the
the Ronin.
rings for the free hands that were like a mod.
Yeah.
Did you ever see those? Like, all very cool ideas and like shit that is still applicable now.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
hard to like maintain relevancy in yo-yoing, and especially back
That's for
then,
sure,
it was
yeah.
easy to hit that ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, and nowadays when brands hit a ceiling, they just take a break for a couple months and then they
And then
come
wait for
back
someone else
and-
to make something. They're like,
right,
"Oh,
and then
okay.
they're like, oh, cool.
whatever we do now is gonna be fresh.
Yeah. What was the first contest you went to? Because that was also like at the time, a lot of East Coast contests were starting to pop up and
Yeah.
become like as dense as they are.
Yeah.
Even denser than they are now. Like I almost said as they are now.
Yeah.
But like back then they used to be like North Carolina states, Virginia states, Maryland states, like every single state almost up and down
Yeah, pretty
the
much.
East Coast had a state contest. What was your first contest?
Mine was Virginia State's 08,
Okay.
which is
That
an awesome
was-
contest to start at. and
Yeah.
I
I
love
was
Virginia
definitely
State's.
there that year. Was I? Yes. Yes, I was.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, no, I definitely was.
Yeah, but I was maybe 4 months into yo-yoing at the time or something like that. It was a great experience because
Yeah.
I'd been on the Extreme Spin forum for a few months and I had met a few people, and so like,
Was that your
being able
first
to-
forum, Extreme Spin forum?
Yeah, Extreme Spin forum was like my
That was your
my
home?
main my home for
What-
a long time.
What attracted you more to that than the other forums?
It was the Tommy Gunn video that I watched,
Okay,
and I was
cool.
like, oh, Extreme Spin, that looks like it. I
Dope.
went there and looked, and I was like, oh, there's no store. Oh, there's a forum. Well,
That's
I'll
fine.
sign up on that and look
so it
around.
worked. Did you see Luke Roberts just bought all the old Extreme Spin stock?
Yeah,
from the
or
owner?
yeah. I'm excited for them to come out. I mean, I've got a decent collection of, got 3 or 4 Extreme Spin Zeros now.
You have 4 of them?
I think so, yeah. Or at least caps to make 4 of them. Not all of them are like assembled right now.
Gosh, because there's only like 150 of them, I think.
However many.
I have
know, yeah.
2 of them.
I would love to get way more.
Yeah, one of them I just have the body of, and I want to recess wheel caps into make it all bionic.
That'd be cool. Yeah, but I have one. I have one bionic one.
Yeah. Yeah. My first forum, I guess, was the Yo, and I don't even know why I picked the Yo, just because it seemed like the most immature one versus
That's
all
fair.
the other forums. I was just like, oh, this one seems like I can kind of like fuck up a lot. No one's gonna care.
Yeah.
Because like I would dabble on the yoyoing.com forum, but I was like,
Mhm.
this is the big leagues. Like I can't just
yeah.
come on here half stepping. Like I gotta really know my shit to like post anything on here. And then it was, I don't even think I really posted on yoyoing.com until I like won Worlds. And then I was like, I'm worthy now.
Hey
Like,
guys,
finally.
it's me,
Yeah.
Tyler Seppers.
Literally
World
one of my
champ.
first posts on yoyoing.com is probably something along those lines. Like, thanks everyone for allowing me to be world champion. Little conceited piece of shit.
Right.
Yeah, but all those state contests back then were so fun. And like, do you remember, like, for comparison's sake, because I guess you kind of grew up. How old were you at that time?
Oh geez.
2008.
2008. I was 17,
Okay,
16,
cool.
17, something like that.
So you, I guess, had a pretty good perception of like how large the actual venue and stuff like that is.
yeah.
Because like the first couple years I went, I was probably like 15, 16, and then like fast forward into the future, like the older you get, just the more realistic things are. But when I was a kid, it just seemed like so large. and
No,
impressive.
it was definitely still like you're sitting there at Virginia State's away and you're like, we're in a children's museum right now, but there's like 60 or 70 people here, and that's pretty cool.
Oh
so
my gosh, we would pack that.
that
room.
was so
Ow.
ridiculous.
I'm so glad that we have the other museum now.
yeah,
and
it's been a really nice venue
it's
change.
a very appropriate venue for us now.
Yeah, it got rowdy in there the last couple of years.
Oh my gosh, I was so scared the first year I did recess, and then the fire alarm went off.
Oh my gosh!
Because one of
we did the award ceremony in the parking lot.
Yeah, but like something malfunctioned, like a ride or something. But I was so worried that like someone was vaping and
Right,
like
yeah,
set
or
off
just
something, and
smoking
I
in
was
a
like, oh
bathroom.
my god, we're never gonna be welcome back. Like,
Oh man,
it was terrible.
but it's a sick contest. It's got such a history to it now.
Oh yeah,
Like how many like national champions have won it? How many world champions have won it?
yeah. Richmond itself just has like a great yo-yo history.
Yeah,
like I would
it's had a great scene.
be interested to like research further back into like the 90s and 80s
Yeah.
and like how, I don't know, I guess we should talk to Dick Storm
Or Tony.
or Tony. Yeah, Tony would be probably a better one. But have you ever seen the Dick Storr is a professional yo-yo player, but he's like a really old guy who's like a little off his rocker, as we all will be when we're in our older years. There's like a great photo set of Dick Storr on Flickr, or was back
Is
in the
there?
day. Yeah, and it's like him at a kid's birthday party, and it's like the parent basically giving a review in the caption, and it's like a handful of pictures. It's just a set like photo guy at the party, Dick Storr, and then it's like like yo-yo guy was pretty cool, like entertained the kids for a solid 25-30 minutes, gave all the kids a yo-yo, and then hit us with an invoice afterwards, which he didn't ask for and was kind of weird. Didn't really feel comfortable giving them back after all the kids had them, but thanks, I guess. I was like, oh damn.
Oh man,
Yeah, good guy.
good guy. Yeah.
So did you get, I feel like you got sponsored like really quickly when you started yo-yoing, or like
Yeah, fairly quickly. My first sponsor was, most people won't know this, but I'm sure you'll remember. But Barking Spider, guy named Kyle Maxwell,
Kyle
that ran
Maxwell,
it,
that's
and
right, yeah.
initially he made like friction stickers and did mods and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And so me
Kyle's
and
a
him
cool
were
guy. Do you
yeah.
keep in touch with him at all, or?
here and there, very
Oh,
rarely.
okay.
But he lives up in like Minnesota now or something.
Yeah,
like that.
he was like a very reserved guy.
But
Like,
he was an awesome dude, and we were
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
good friends.
we were weirdly close too. He would come up and stay at my. That's the name I haven't heard in years. But,
Yeah.
like, he would come up and stay at my house for like weekends at a time,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, he was just a cool guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Super down to earth guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gave me my first chance, and we didn't, he give me pads and mod some yo-yos for me.
yeah,
and,
fun stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
we
it's not-
we do some like
anything
demos and stuff
serious,
together,
yeah.
and it was super fun. And we got to the point where we were like pursuing making our first yo-yo, which was going to be like my initial signature yo-yo.
that would have been
And
so
it was
dope so early.
Yeah, super wild, like being 2.5 or 3 years into yo-yoing, but
Okay, so that would have been like 2010 maybe. Or
yeah,
something
like
yeah.
that. But yeah, we even prototyped it and like took a full weekend to hand turn it on his lathe in his little
I
townhouse
forgot
apartment.
He used to turn metal
And,
yo-yos on his
yeah,
lathe.
so
Holy
yeah,
hell.
he was big into modding. He did some. I have some pretty cool mods from him still. Some
Yeah,
sweet silicone recess light up zeros and stuff like that.
he would always show me all of his mods, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, like you are really putting in work."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Man had some skill for sure.
Yeah.
It was very niche, but
Were you on Word, or am I just
Yeah.
imagining that? You
Yeah,
were.
I was on
okay.
Word.
What year did you get on Word?
I think that was 2013.
Okay,
Um,
was that more towards the tail end of Word, or
yeah, so I was on Word for 3 years. It was 2013 to 2016.
okay?
And yeah, the first couple years were awesome because see, Worlds 2013 was the last one in Orlando, right?
Yes,
I think that was the
yeah.
last one in Orlando. So like the era of the Orlando Worlds and having Word there was like really what made Word because
Yeah.
they would pretty much save all their new releases and stuff
For
until
that
Worlds,
year,
and then they would release everything there and be super hype. And so it was super fun to be a part of. I mean, the group of people that was a part of it at the time, it was such a big team and so many rad people. Our 3A members of the team was insane. So we had
yeah, the team was
me and
crazy.
Donald and Eric Trenton, Stephen Kinder,
Yeah,
a
there
bunch
were
of really good 3A players.
several years. I'm sure it was like majority of the top 10 of Worlds were all Word players,
Yeah,
and in AAA or Worlds Nationals,
Yeah.
like several different.
Yeah, there was a year at
contests.
Nationals where we went 2, 3, 4.
That
Or-
always is such a weird situation to me, like with Word and then with Buzz-On too, where it's just like they have these crazy couple years where like
Mhm.
they have an amazing team, like amazing players, and like I understand life happens and yo-yoing isn't like the most lucrative thing in the
Right,
world.
right.
So like when someone like Stu who runs Word or Dave Bazan who ran Buzz-On has a family and they need to go actually provide versus it's not like me.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I've described Recess to several people as like too small to fail in some ways, where
Right.
it's
yeah,
like it's not like I'm gonna go bankrupt over this. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, if I don't have enough money to run yo-yos right now, I just wait a couple more weeks until I have
Exactly.
more money.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah, and that was the thing with Word. It was always like a secondary thing to Stu.
Right.
And so
So it's just so interesting to me because like, yeah, and I know that a lot of people in the team tried to kind of take the wheel at some points.
and help out.
and like help out, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's hard, and it's like especially with him being on the other side of the world
Mhm.
and the the time change and
Yeah,
everything, like
yeah.
time zones, and
Yeah.
like it's so difficult to talk to someone on the other side of the world consistently and
Right.
like
Yeah.
get progress and updates on things,
Yeah.
and yeah. But they came out with like a lot of really amazing yo-yos that still
Yeah, for
like
sure.
influence a lot of design today. It's interesting because like I was thinking about questions to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
and like I wasn't sure whether or not you were on Word, and now that I confirmed that you were,
Yeah.
it's so interesting that like you guys did the modular yo-yo, Freshly Dirty, and then
Yeah,
also Corco did a modular yo-yo
Yeah.
too. Like it's
To-
super
to-
interesting.
I mean, like,
from Word,
the,
yeah.
the divergence of Word.
Like,
of course,
yeah.
Corco's a bit more heavily saturated with former Word members, but
Yeah, yo-yo trees to me are so interesting.
Yeah.
It's like
it is really cool because like even
you guys, but definitely both took it to the next level and did
Oh,
your
yeah,
own
yeah.
things with it, and
but like even designing my yo, I took a lot of inspiration from Word.
oh yeah, okay,
yeah,
cool.
and so that was kind of like my stepping off point. So, yeah, it was definitely a lot of continued inspiration from them because I mean they did some really rad stuff when
Yeah.
they were
It's
they were
so
putting things out.
it's so crazy the amount of work that Stu would put into Word, and then like you said, kind of
Just for like you know
the
1 week of a
releases at
year.
Worlds,
yeah,
and it's like, I mean, like I get it, and it's like, it's so much work to prepare. Like those couple years where like I did big recess lead ups to Worlds, and
Yeah.
especially because like Stu's doing it all on his own too. It's like, it's not fun. Like I know he got some
Yeah.
players to help him and stuff like that, but people are not like the team isn't as passionate or as good at testing stuff
Yeah,
and assembling stuff as you are. Like it's so funny every time like I'm telling people like how rigorous the first base testing process is,
right.
and they're like, why don't you just get some of your friends to help out? Like why don't you just get some people? And I'm like, it's not that easy, trust me. And they're like, well, why not? Like you just order some pizzas, like buy back weed, like just get everyone will be fine. And I'm like, but like as soon as people get a good one, they want to play with it for like 5 minutes,
Right.
or they just want to play with it for 5 minutes in general, which I get. But like in that amount of time, I've tested like 20 more yo-yos
Right.
and found 2 more good ones. And it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's ridiculous. So it's like I totally get it, but like that the amount of work he put in that those periods of time
Yeah.
must have been so like
It was definitely like a
prolific.
labor of love for
It's so
sure.
crazy because like he would come out with like 5 or 6 different models at
Yeah,
one
just
time,
every year.
and a lot of them would have like cool packaging to go along with it, and it's like, you know, it would be artwork that was like, you know, different pieces from like all different
Yeah.
stuff that he previously used. But like all that stuff takes work, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
just like
yeah,
looking back at it, it's like I totally understand how he got burnt out so fast or why
yeah,
it kind of ended up the way it did because like you put so much work into something and then it's hard too when you've invigorated a group of people like all you guys are
hmm
super excited
yeah,
and then he's like back in Australia just chilling for a bit like all right I'm gonna lay in the cut for a couple
yeah,
months and like regroup and re-energize and then everyone's like yo man I need 8 more split decisions and Kai is probably like we need to make the rings 3 times as bigger man like I need the gat 0.04 millimeters wider
yeah.
like everyone is just making these crazy requests and he's like oh my god like I just need to take care of my
Right.
kids like
Yeah.
please
Yeah, like right at the end there, we were the last year we were working on was the Fruture, and it was like a group design. So
Okay.
we were all in the Word Facebook group, and we did a bunch of polls to like pick out design elements and stuff, and we wanted to put together, and we came out with the Fruture, which was a really fun yo-yo, really cool design.
yeah it was like a modified V-shape yo-yo
Yeah, kind of like semi-organic, semi V-shape.
it was a little organic
Yeah, it had like nice smoothed
it was
out
a
rims.
fun yo-yo
It was a
though,
really good
like-
yo-yo, and like we had like that initial release at Worlds, and there was supposed to be like like the full release, and
and it
that
was
was
like
kinda
the
when it-
takedown price point right it was like 55 or 60
yeah,
bucks
it was
maybe.
pretty cheap.
Yeah and it was like kind of the competitor with like Genesis Supernova I guess
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
say.
similar
like,
idea.
yeah
And so it
was
was
a
it was
great
super
yo-yo,
sick,
yeah.
but that was kind of like right at the end, and so you never really got to see that come to fruition. And
yeah no pun intended
no pun intended. Hey, pun intended. Yeah,
yeah because I remember the lead up to that and I was like oh damn like I wonder what's gonna happen with
Yeah.
this and like all the fruits that like were on them and I was
Yeah.
like oh like this could go on forever
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
just imagine like the next one you do and then
Yeah.
like it never yeah like you said went anywhere
just never quite happened.
yeah but like what a cool brand and like I don't know it's funny now that like yo-yos are a little bit easier to make and I don't know if yo-yo was just like the littlest bit bigger like literally
Yeah.
just incrementally bigger all these brands could have like all the brands especially that like don't really have the time like the crucials or like the words
Yeah,
they could afford to just like pay someone like a tiny salary to like run their brand for the
Yeah,
year and
yeah.
it's like they would put out so many cool yo-yos do so many cool projects and but it's like just not big enough
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
just too small and it's like yeah like I'm sure you know like with Freshly Dirty stuff it's such a team effort like when it comes
Oh,
down
yeah,
to
absolutely.
designing and then testing
Yeah.
and sales and like all the marketing and work that goes into everything it's like it's a process and
for sure.
yeah back then none of that stuff was nearly as easy
Yeah,
so it wasn't you couldn't involve 5 cooks in the kitchen at
Right,
one time
yeah.
and just have everyone in there but
Yeah. Word was a dope time, and I'm super happy I was able to be a part of the team when I was. I think it did a lot for me
yeah
in my yo-yoing, and yeah, made a lot of good friends there, and still keep up with most of them. And I've got like an unreleased team edit on my YouTube video from Worlds 2013 that Stu didn't want me to drop because it was like a Fruture team edit,
why did he want you to drop it
because like we were waiting for the release of the Fruture.
oh right
So I still have it on there. Yeah.
man, you're a good team member. Kids on my team will just drop a video. and not ask me. I'm like, oh, we could have waited a month till this was out, but like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, good time.
Yeah. It's funny because I've used the word prolific already just to describe Word, but like just like we said, they didn't really exist outside of Worlds, but their impact is so wide. And
Right.
like,
Yeah.
so it's just I don't know. It's like when a rapper or someone records an album in a couple weeks and it's just like, wow, this is an incredible body of work for only 4
Yeah.
weeks of work. That's how I feel about the Word drops, where it's just like, wow, this is really crazy. Like that you put all this together in this short period of time, like,
Yeah.
and then got all you guys so excited and everything. And did you think about getting on Corco or?
Yeah, like after, so it was 2016 when I left Word,
Mhm.
and
Which at the time, you did leave, but like I guess it didn't really.
there,
exist
yeah,
at
it was
time.
the
wasn't-
team was like slowly disbanding
Right,
on
yeah.
its own.
You did him a favor, like say, like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna quit," instead
Yeah.
of him having to send everyone an email and be like,
Yeah,
"Hey, guys,
right.
this isn't happening anymore."
Yeah. So
anymore.
after that, it was a little bit before Worlds that year, and so I was kind of like, I'll go into Worlds unsponsored and maybe look for someone that'll be willing to pick me up. And
That was an idea you had going to Worlds. That's dope. That's
I was like,
awesome.
maybe I'll be able to talk some people
Because no
and-
one goes to contests thinking about it like a networking opportunity. So tell me a little bit about Freshly Dirty, because Worlds 2013 was the last year Worlds was in America, and Word had like a huge booth like they always do. It was smaller than in previous years.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's booth that year was a little bit smaller just because it was kind of like a weird going away party in some
Right.
ways. I feel like there was the most minimal effort put into it by all accounts.
Right.
Was it announced that it was going to be in Czech already the following year? I think, right?
They announced it there, but
I think it may have already been known behind the scenes.
Yeah, people knew it wasn't going to be in
Right.
Florida that year
because
the
like
next year.
yeah, no one put any money into their
Yeah,
booth. It was like not even like Yo-Yo Jam. At least most years will get like skirts for their tables made with
Right.
the logos on them.
It was
Even
just
that year, they
whatever.
were like, "Yeah, it's fine." I was like, "Jesus!" Like, they just had some fucking picnic tables up with yo-yos on. I was like, "Jesus!" Like, this don't even feel like Worlds. So, after that, so I guess you spent a couple years unsponsored, or
No, so yeah, I got off Word on
no,
2016.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2013 Worlds was just kind of like the last hurrah with Word, but like
yeah,
and then Frucher is released after that, right?
yeah,
Okay.
or yeah, it was attempted release after that, and it went on for a couple of years, and before everybody kind of started going their own way.
Yeah.
So I left in 2016, and then
Did you leave before or after Worlds 2016?
before it was before
Okay.
Worlds.
All right, yeah. Because you had mentioned you went to Worlds kind of like with the intention of getting sponsored.
Yeah, I was unsponsored. I was looking, shopping around, and
Which is again like I've talked about this in another episode, or like because I kind of looked at Worlds my first year the same way, where I was like, "Word, like everyone can see me here. Like this is a good way to meet everyone." Like I was just like doing everything I could, and yeah, it's really interesting. So,
yeah. So Worlds 2016 was an awesome year. Made my first 3A finals. And I met Alex Morton there.
Also a great way to apply for a team.
Yeah, also a great way to apply for a team.
At Worlds, great.
Yeah.
Did you like practice a little harder that year, kind of for that reason?
I practiced a decent amount, yeah. And that was the first
you were
Worlds.
already focused, so
Pretty focused. That was the first Worlds that was back in the U.S. after a few years, and so I was like, okay, cool, yeah, this year we'll be able to go to Worlds, and so yeah, I was definitely fairly well practiced, and it paid off. But yeah, so I met Alex Morton there, the founder of Freshly Dirty, and he had his fixed axles travelers, just little hand carved wooden blocks basically. So I picked a couple of those up from him, and started playing him a bunch, and hung out with him a good amount, and kind of got an idea of his vision for what he wanted to do, and so over the next couple months, I kept in touch with him and kept playing those yo-yos. And eventually he reached out to me and was and offered for me to be the first official team member of Freshly Dirty, which I ended up taking up. So
that's dope. It's so cool that you say his vision of Freshly Dirty, because like it is the battery starting to go? It's all good. Just let it run for a minute. It's so interesting you say his vision of Freshly Dirty, because I feel like so many brands are just like, people think that like, oh, I'm good at yo-yo, so I should make a yo-yo, or like, oh, I can 3D render something, so like, why don't I make a yo-yo? And like very rarely do people think like I have an idea or like a way that I interpret yo-yoing, or I curate what I do with yo-yoing that I think that other people would dig, and that's how I want to base my brand around, which is like something I've thought about I've always thought about it for a long time with like if I were to ever start a yo-yo brand. For like specifically Recess, it was something I put like months and months and months of thought into, and like so it's like super cool that you say that about it, and like you said, another reason why you probably decided to join that team. Do you think that because they were kind of getting started as a company that influenced your choice picking it versus like going with a more established brand?
Yeah, for sure. So I was definitely, I'd had some experience working with bigger companies with Word, and I saw kind of like I wanted to be really more involved with with the design and testing of yo-yos. Um, so I was really into H-spin when I first got into yo-yoing, and they were very team driven, and they had a lot of influence in the team in the products that they made, and so that really made me interested in working with a smaller company, just so that I could be more involved and have a bigger hand in creating and influencing the direction that the company goes in. And so that was definitely a big bonus going with Freshly Dirty. You know, it was definitely a risk because you never quite know where it was going to end up. Um,
Yeah, so many brands kind of just fly by night, have one yo-yo and are done. But,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Alex and Arthur have definitely like continued pushing out product
Yeah.
consistently and like pushing forward, and like they develop their own design language, and like
Mhm.
every Freshly Dirty product now really looks like a Freshly Dirty product. It's always been that way, but it's just like
Yeah,
eventually brands kind of lose that, or a lot of yo-yo brands in my opinion do, where it just kind of turns out like every yo-yo just turns out like another like remix of 10 of their
Mhm.
other models or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But like every Freshly Dirty product and release kind of has like a concise vision and like driven ethos behind it,
Yeah.
versus like they don't put anything out for no reason.
Right. Yeah. And that's definitely a lot to do with how Alex initially saw the company and how he's helped to continue to guide it. And you know, even with designing my yo-yo, there was a big process behind it of like, you know, what's the vision behind the yo-yo? Like what's you know, there's got to be like some meaning to different things about it. And you know, it's got to, you know, we toyed around with the name a lot to try to find, you know, a name that felt like Freshly Dirty.
Where's the name come from? How does the design influence by what your alternative hobbies other than yo-yoing?
Yeah. So it started, what was it, 2018. Alex reached out to me, and you know, we were chatting one day, and he was like, yeah, so me and Arthur want to do a signature yo-yo for someone on the team. And since you're the first member and you know the most relevant competitive player, I guess
I'm
you
the
can say.
best.
Yeah, I'm the bit now. That they wanted to do a yo-yo for me, so I was like, okay, cool. So I started playing with ideas of designs and names and stuff like that. The design is, like I was saying earlier, the design's actually based off the word hour,
Okay.
which was my main 3A yo-yo when I was with Word. And so I
I
kind
kind
of,
of remember what that looks like.
it's just kind of a very simple kind of like angular shape, but it's
It's
rather
right. Let me
tall and
see
rather
it.
skinny.
Yes, that's true.
Um,
Okay.
so I kind
I
of
see it now.
based it off that, but changed it up a little bit here and there. Um, and
Is this one hard coat?
no, these
Oh,
aren't hard coat.
it's just one color purple, or is it two color purple?
No, it's just single color purple.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
it looks like really thick. The purple on
Yeah.
that looks dope. What were you saying then? Sorry.
Yes, you're good. Yeah, so I ran some ideas by Arthur, and he, you know, me and him went through a long process of refining the design to what it ended up being.
Did you kind of have a similar ethos behind the yo-yo that his name is slipping my mind now.
Alex,
Yes, thank you.
other Alex.
Yes, it's so funny because like as I was taking notes, I kept misspelling your name as Alex Morton and not Alex
Yeah,
Kirkman,
yeah.
like over and over again. And then like now during the interview, I can't remember Alex
It's
Morton's
fine.
name. It's so funny. Yeah. Did you kind of, because like you said, you joined the team because of like not just because of his vision, but like that's a lot more than
Yeah.
other brands have to offer.
Yeah,
and, like,
for sure.
It matches what you were passionate about at yo-yoing.
Yeah,
Not exactly that you guys were passionate about similar things, but just like he had more of an idea and a vision
Yeah.
beyond like, oh look, cool yo-yo.
Yeah, cool
great,
yo-yos,
alright." Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. And I definitely I took a lot of time in trying to give the yo-yo a lot of meaning and a lot of my personality in it.
Mhm.
And so especially like with the name, you know, originally I wanted to call it the Mountaineer. Of course, for anybody that doesn't know, I've been a rock climber for probably, it's been over 10 years now, around 10 years.
Okay.
And I've been working in the climbing industry for the past 8 years or so.
That's right.
So it's a big part of my life, and
Yeah.
I love the outdoors. I love going to the
Arguably
mountains.
probably bigger than yo-yo now that you're working at a place probably full
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
you
it's
know
it's
what I
definitely
mean?
it's
Yeah.
definitely up there with yo-yoing for sure. But so that was definitely the main influence. But over the course of time and talking and scheming about it, the Mountain Man kind of seemed just to have that freshly dirty feel to it. whatever that freshly dirty feel is. It's hard to like actually pinpoint, but
No, but it definitely. Mountaineer is a little like that. Almost sounds like a Caribou Lodge name. To
yeah,
me.
kind of, yeah.
Like, not that that's a bad thing, but it's like you said, like it just wouldn't fit as well as like
Yeah.
Mountain Man. Mountain Man reminds it's like a weird like half Sasquatch, half
Yeah, kind of,
like,
yeah.
missing link. That's what I referred to. No offense to Juggalos. I know I'm sure I have Juggalo listeners, but I always think of Juggalos as like the missing link, like how Darwin and people would talk about like there's pieces of like society of like animals that will never be discovered.
All right, so we're
And I
going
was-
conspiracy theories now, aren't we?
it took a left turn real quick. But like, what kind of ideas did you apply to the yo-yo? I guess, or not? I mean, not just like purely for, because obviously it's a great AAA yo-yo.
Mhm.
If you're not familiar with yo-yo design, like if something has like a high wall, it's technically going to be more stable. So like that's why it has a high wall. So if he plays it with AAA, like it's going to maintain like a straight line more to do tricks as two yo-yos are
Yeah.
moving in a row. But it's also great for 1A too.
And 5A as well.
Yeah,
Really
and
good
5A.
yeah.
And it's also like a really large diameter, which is a great thing for 3A. What is it? 50?
No, that one's pretty big. That one's, I think it's 60 flat.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I definitely
I'm terrible at
my
estimating, but-
my 3A yo-yo preferences are kind of weird. Most people like something not quite as big and not quite as skinny, but for me, I don't know, I've kind of always liked that feel. Like the first yo-yos I played 3A with were Good and Evil 3s,
Okay.
which were very big and very skinny.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just something I've always liked. But for 3A, it's nice because it gives you, when you're doing like tighter combos, it gives you enough room to pass the yo-yos past each other if they're not too wide.
Mhm.
But
That's a great one at yo-yo too. Eddie Dubell has one on
Yeah,
his, like,
yeah, he does.
Like entertainment shelf at his house. I play with it like every time over his
Yeah.
house. And I always forget that it's your yo-yo.
Yeah.
Until I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, freshly dirty. It's
Right,
Alex's
yeah.
yo-yo.
yeah, so a lot of the with all the colorways were definitely really personal to me,
Okay.
and they were all based off certain aspects of the outdoors and the mountains and climbing that I really like. So
Like places locally or just
Yeah,
like
yeah, so
things? Okay.
there was a blue, it was a blue acid wash one that was 3 shades of blue mixed
Mhm.
together, and that one's called Blue Ridge Mountains, which is kind of my favorite climbing area. And so that was like the first idea I had that really like kickstarted a lot of it. And then we had green half swap, so it's a light green and a dark green. That one was Shenandoah for the Shenandoah Valley. And then we had a gray one with orange speckles, which was, what was that one? I can't remember what that one was named. Oh, Appalachia,
Okay.
for the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, these are all really dope, man.
yeah,
Like,
so
you
it was
should-
definitely-
I'm sure you put these in the caption of the post, but like you should do like a video series like this, like
Yeah,
explaining
talking,
all
it could be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like maybe even going to those places.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
even it doesn't have to be super extensive. It could be 5 sentences, but,
Right,
Because
yeah.
people really dig the stories that accompany
Yeah, for
them.
sure.
Like it seems so stupid and insignificant, but like, I mean, it's funny because like there's people like in the yo-yo community that know more about fucking Edmonton, Canada than like,
Right.
people who actually live in Canada because
Right.
of Caribou Lodge and Chris
Mhm.
being like, oh yeah, it's this one train station that I used to go to, blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, Clareview Station, like
Yeah.
it's crazy because like yeah, no one would ever know that, but like and back in the day it was easier because everyone was had all eyes on one person on the forum, so you
Yeah,
just write
yeah.
it there. But like yeah, definitely, like I think that's super cool. And like we said, not many other brands put that much thought behind the yo-yos, or,
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
and it especially doesn't ever it's never that personal. It just
Yeah,
always kind of like, oh, I thought this combination was cool, or like I like Sprite,
Yeah,
so we
I
did
like
a
the
yellow
color
and-
green, so I made it
Right.
green.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like I went climbing on this mountain, so we
Yeah.
and that's like harking back to the outerwear like inspiration that I'm getting from brands now, where like
Mhm.
they just put so much emphasis on things like that, like down to literally the colorway of it, where
Yeah,
it's like oh yeah, like when we're hiking this one ridge, the gradient of the skyline goes from this blue to this purple, so we put those palettes on
Yeah. And
It's
that's exactly what the blue one was, because in the Blue Ridge Mountains, once you get up high and you see out of the mountains, they start at a light blue and they fade to a
There you
dark
go,
blue.
yeah.
And
That's
so
fucking
yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah, so it was definitely a cool personal touch, and I know a lot of people, saw the names and kind of got the references, and I know some people that were like, oh, I saw the Blue Ridge Mountain ones, and I live in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I just had to get it. So it's definitely cool to see people connect with it in that way.
And it gives you like it's a I think it's a popular yo-yo, you know what I mean, but it gives you a chance to continue like merchandising those colorways.
Yeah,
It
for sure.
sounds bad saying merchandising
No, but yeah,
but like as you do more runs you can like reference other things, and
yeah,
it's like
exactly. It's like building blocks. It gives a spot to jump off from.
Yeah, it's
if we
just
ever go to
super
another
cool.
one.
Yeah, and then you could even like work with some other outdoorsy kind of like
Yeah.
entities and like try to potentially promote the yo-yo through there or some way.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a lot of cool things you can do with
yeah,
it. So.
it's super interesting to me because no one ever puts that much thought into yo-yos.
Yeah.
It's just like
That's Freshly Dirty for you. I mean, this was a like pretty much a 2-year project from the initial like idea to final fruition.
That's fucking rad though. 'Cause
Yeah,
I know I've said it like 6 times in a row, but like there's like a lot of musicians or rappers specifically will kind of harken on like, oh, like I recorded this album in 3 weeks or whatever, and it's like it shows. Like trust me, I know. Versus like an artist that's like, oh, like we took our time. It took like 3 years or whatever, and like all the little things, like shit that you think that you just recognize or whatever. Like there was shit that I, like literally I'm like just talking out of my ass. I'm like, oh, it's really cool that North Face did this jacket that's referenced like this. You're like, oh yeah, that's kind of similar to how I did.
Yeah.
It's like it's just so cool, and it shows that when you have a strong idea, like you don't have to ride a wave, or you don't have to like there's no fucking finger spin cup on this. There's no like you did like cool acid wash colors, but it's not like some weird vibrant thing for no reason, and you threw some like random name. It was like all stuff you really wanted to do in the project. Just,
and
like,
this one's really cool. So this is the Unholy edition.
Okay.
So collab with Coffin and Yesio. So he did the designs on him.
I think he did the artwork.
Yeah, and it's all these different runes that talk about like protection on your journey and protection from wilderness and kind of respect of the land and that sort of thing. And so it got pretty deep on that, and he did an awesome job putting it together. And
that's awesome.
So
this is a great. I'm sad that I don't have one. I want to try. I'll try to find one.
Yeah, there's probably some still floating around here and there.
But like, because that's so dope to me. Because that's again like collabs even in yo-yo are just like,
dude, I know. I miss the days where
people just
collabs were more frequent.
One person designs the yo-yo and then they both pick some colors or whatever. But like for Coffin to like bring that weird gothic aesthetic to it, and then but to also incorporate it to your outdoors thing and like kind of tie it all together is just so dope. Like, it's so rad. Can we see the yo-yo even in frame right now, or is it okay? Cool. Just making sure
it's around there. We're all just sitting here like
about something
sitting
that
off the screen.
Totally out of frame.
You got knees in. Cool. Got knees in.
Sweet.
Yeah. So it was definitely a super rad project, and I think the fact that it did take so long made it turn out even better, because it was a labor of love, and it really took, we took our time kind of nitpicking it and fine tuning it and stuff like that. So that's kind of how Freshly Dirty is run. There's always like 4 or 5 different projects that are going on at a time, and so if one has to take a while for to play with it and kind of let it set and let it marinate a bit and just figure out if you like it or what you want to change about it, is okay, because there's always 3 other yo-yos behind it.
But through that and all that fine tweaking that we talked about earlier, like you can put 4 Freshly Dirty yo-yos back to back and they all look similar but different. You know what I mean? Like they all look like Alex or Arthur or whoever designed them. They all look like the artwork is all in the same vein. Like that's hard for a brand to do, and like yo-yoing in itself is just so like it's a hodgepodge, and like
for sure
for I use the word homogenize to describe yo-yoing, but for how homogenized it is, like so many brands, it feels just so pieced together. And like, there's like a catalog that you can just pick out, like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then this sans serif typeface, and cool. Like, just put it all together. Like,
that's a testament to the crew that we have at Freshly Dirty. There's a lot of people that are very, very like-minded, a lot of talented artists and people that really care about what we're doing. And so, there's a lot of effort put into the little things. We sit there and talk about the name of the yo-yo for weeks on end, just like pitching random ideas until one finally sticks. And that was kind of the way it was with the Mod 44. It took us like, that in itself was like a 2-year project, and it took us, 3-4 months to figure out a name for it until, me, Arthur, and Alex were in a Skype chat one time, and we were talking about like 44 Special was like the initial idea, but
Okay.
that I think that was a Yo-Yo Factory yo-yo at some point in time back in the day.
No idea,
Yeah. And so we were like, sitting there like racking our brains trying to figure it out. I'm just like,
is that a gun? Is it a
it is
slang
a
for
44
gun?
Special
Okay.
is a type of gun. Yeah. Same with like Super 44. I think those are like Vespa motorcycle
But
electric
all
things.
dope
Yeah. Yeah.
entendres. To,
Super,
you know
super
what I mean,
cool,
play
but
with,
we couldn't
right?
quite use them. So, and then eventually I was just like, yo, it's a modular 44. Like, this is what it is. And we're like, oh, it's perfect. Yeah, mod 44.
One time in a pitch meeting at Yo-Yo Factory, we were talking about like, oh, we should do like a new fast challenge, or like, what could we do that's similar? And I'm like, man, we got the one. Like, let's just do Formula One. And Hans was like, and then I was like, but it's copyrighted.
But it's
Yeah,
copyrighted.
and he's like, oh yeah, good point. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so it's definitely Freshly Dirty is definitely like a passion project for the whole crew. And
Yeah, everything comes out that way though, like in a good way, not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like because people can use the word passion project like it's a not so great. Or
Yeah,
like,
for sure,
this
for
is,
sure.
Like something I'm just doing, and it's like you guys all take it very seriously.
Yeah.
Or like you are really incorporating all your passions into the brand simultaneously, which is hard to do all at once.
It's hard to make sense of a lot of the times, but
And that too, it's very difficult because it's like the more cooks you let in the kitchen and have a piece of that.
yeah.
I regret all the time like asking a lot of people's opinions on things because like I'll have it formulated already and I really just want their approval instead. Like,
Mhm.
tell me this is cool instead of like their genuine opinion.
Right.
Because like even if they do think it's cool, there's probably something about it like, oh, like you should do it like this, or have you thought about doing it like this? But like I just always ask them and I'm like, whatever. Like they think it's whack. Like, and they don't. Like, it's not like that at all. But yeah. So let's talk about the 44. Is it mod 44? Or
Yeah,
44
the
mod?
mod 44,
Mod 44,
modular
okay,
44.
So, like we had mentioned before, or did we mention at the beginning of the podcast or before the podcast, how interesting it was that like the tree of word, like
Yeah,
the
we were talking
splinter-
about that earlier.
Was it before? Or
No,
was
it was on the
recorded?
podcast.
Okay, off
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah. Oh, you said it was on.
Yeah, we were talking
Okay.
about it on.
Yeah. So it's interesting how like Corco is a branched off company from Word, not literally, but like players from Word left
Mhm.
Word and started the brand Corco, and then same with you're from Word and like you've moved under Freshly
Yeah,
Dirty.
yeah.
So was this something that you pitched to Arthur? And I feel like a lot of brands always want to do a modular yo-yo because like obviously we had
Mhm.
talked about other brands doing them,
Yeah.
but like it's not an easy thing to do, and no brand ever wants to contribute the research and development.
Yeah.
Dedicate the research and development
For sure.
to actually produce something like that because you're going to need to do multiple rounds of prototypes. You're going to need to get something. You're going to need to invest a lot of money to be able to get something
Oh
that's
yeah,
sellable.
for sure.
And within yo-yoing, it's not like that's going to be the most easily recoupable thing.
Mhm.
And like this is a great yo-yo and it's amazing. And to people who played with the Split Decision, which is like another modular yo-yo, when they see this and they are the way that yo-yos are made now and they're sturdier than ever and all the great technological advances we've incorporated to them, like you see something like this and it's exciting, but like to a lot of new players they might look at this and it's intimidating, but it's also like it's it's an investment almost. It's not just like something it's not an impulse purchase that like, oh, I'm gonna throw on like another freehand when I buy my Yo-Yo Expert order this month or whatever. What do these reach up for? Like $100 or $90?
It was $100 for the initial one, and that came with the hub and 3 sets of rims.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, so basically 3 yo-yos for $100.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because people don't understand how much it costs to make something. Like anyone can
Mhm.
Google the price of 6061 bar stock versus
Right.
7075.
Yeah.
But they don't realize like, oh, we have to run the machine slower and like you're gonna run
Yeah.
through the tools faster
Yeah.
because it dulls the tools because the metal is denser and like there's all these things that I can incorporate into the cost of the yo-yo, so it goes from being whatever price to twice that basically for
Yeah.
just a 6065 to a
Right.
7071 yo-yo. So like to get this and then have 3 sets of Delrin rings with it too, or palm rings with it, is
Yeah.
like you're getting 3 yo-yos, but like if you do the math, that's like getting 3 yo-yo. It's like $30 a piece. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Or $33 a piece, roughly, which is like
Yeah.
a deal in itself.
For sure.
Like, I was playing with it earlier. Go ahead, you're good. You can toss it to whoever. Thank you. Um, I was playing with it earlier because CJ has one, but I like didn't really want to like
Mhm.
mess around with it too much because he doesn't have a lot of them, and I didn't want it to like break or whatever. But like they're really sturdy. Like it wasn't hard to
Yeah.
get the rings off, but like once they were off to like put it back on, it was easy, but it was like an effort and in a good way because you can tell that like everything is concentrically machined and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so you're gonna everything is
It's
really
got really
smooth and
tight
nice.
tolerances to it.
Yes, it's good to hear though that the perception that I have of all the thought going into the yo-yos really is there, and you know what I mean. You guys
Yeah,
are
for sure.
yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, I'm glad it shows through as well as
yeah,
it does.
absolutely. And I'm stoked on this collab. I really want to get one of these. I'll have to ask
Yeah.
Coffin or someone.
Yeah, I think Expert might still have some.
Oh, okay, word, awesome. Yeah, tell me more about the Mountain Man and just I guess like the design inspiration for like is there any reasoning behind like the line cuts in the yo-yos?
Little grooves, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just we had the base shape and it
Mhm.
was interesting, but we wanted something to kind of set it apart. And so we played around with a few ideas, but kind of settled on the kind of old school one drop little grooves.
Yeah, did you
And-
guys prototype any other? Ironically, Word was the first brand I think to do that before One Drop.
I mean, with the TFL, yeah. That's funny. That's super funny. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, so like we did a CAD drawing with them on the rims, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Let's just like slap it all over the place. So put them on there, and then put them down in there, and then just gave it a
But
different
it's nice,
look.
though. It's not
Yeah.
overbearing.
Yeah,
Like the TFL was a really nice yo-yo, and
It felt great to play with.
yeah, like I really did enjoy that aspect of it, but like it almost became too much, or it was like that yo-yo, where like you
Yeah,
picked
for
it
sure.
up, and it's like you don't always want an ASMR experience when you're yo. Not every
Yeah,
single time. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't always need to be that way. So it's like cool that it's just like little bits and pieces, and then like the junk science of like there being less contact surface on the rim,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
could do like grinds for longer.
Yeah.
I mean, in AAA that could work.
It's
in
actually
some ways, but-
nice for when you're doing tricks. Sometimes in 3A you'll just kind of like just barely like graze a
Mhm.
finger or something
Yeah.
like that, and it slows down a lot less than it would if it were
Yeah.
a solid rim.
Yeah, it's an
So
interesting point.
it actually does.
And with it being like
does
a
work
V shape,
bit,
does
yeah.
that kind of help too with 3A? I guess like it grazing your finger and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
It's not
for sure.
As flat or doesn't come into contact as
Yeah,
much. That's really awesome.
Yeah, we did have to play around with that a bit. The original prototypes, these were the outer rims were too flat, and so you could catch the string in the grooves, even though they were so small. So it took a little tuning to get it right, but
That's awesome.
we got it figured
yeah.
out in the end.
That's rad. Do you guys have anything you're working on like right now? I know like Recess is the same way where we have like a dozen
A bunch of projects,
in
yeah.
the works. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like what's in like the immediate future. We're still gonna talk about you. And
Yeah,
this
for
is the
sure.
end
Yeah.
of the
No, you're good,
podcast,
you're
but,
good.
like for Freshly Dirty, what's in the immediate future?
The next thing is going to be the second release for the Mod 44.
Is that like
um,
right around the corner? Or
Yeah, we're I think the prototype, or I think there's some prototypes already ordered.
the new shaped rims.
Yeah, new
Are you
shaped
doing
rims
more
and a new
cores or-
shaped hub. Yeah,
hub, sorry.
D-bearing hub is going to be the next
Ooh,
one,
Okay,
and it's going to
cool.
be a little bit wider. But then we're playing around
Wider
with some
the
rim shapes.
D-bearing, or-
Yeah.
Like the
Just
hub
like-
will be wider.
Yeah,
too?
the hub overall is
The
going to
actual
be is
string
going to be
gap will
wider.
be wider.
Yeah,
Really?
but
Wow, that's
the
interesting.
the caps and everything are all
It's
going to
like
be the
pushed
exact
to the
same.
max of max it could.
Kinda, yeah.
String gap.
Yeah.
Is
But yeah,
it
so
gonna
it's
be pads or a silicone groove,
it'll be silicone groove.
Hmm.
Yeah. But
like
And-
regular 19mm size or whatever. These
Probably,
are?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. The D-bearing choice.
yeah, but that's kind of been our thing over the past couple of years, kind of revitalizing the D-bearing, and it's cool to see other companies doing it now too. So
You guys have made other guys with the D-bearing too.
yeah, we made a few.
Okay, cool.
What were the other ones? Canary was one. One of the Untitled's was one.
For those who don't know what the D bearing is, it's kind of like the metric size bearing that I think H-Spin was the first.
H-Spin was the
brand
main
to
company that
incorporate it,
used
yeah.
them. Yeah,
And I guess did I Love Yo-Yo use it
yeah, I
as
think
well?
they used them some too.
Spy
Spy
did as
yeah.
well, yeah. because it's just the metric size
Yeah,
bearing, which
yeah.
is obviously the standard of measurement that every other country in the world uses, other than
Yeah,
America
yeah.
and North Korea or something. Like,
Yeah,
what's
something
the
like
other country? Like,
there's
it's
there's an
something
African country
random.
that
Yeah,
uses
okay,
it.
that's
Yeah.
right.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. So yeah, like that's very interesting. You're using that. I was talking to the his name is Hobby God on Instagram. The guy who made that 50/50 yo-yo. That's like it's like really small in diameter and really wide.
Huh. I
Um,
don't think. Oh no, no. Okay, yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
but he wants to do like a D-bearing version. I'm like,
That's.
why? Like, it's a really cool idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that you mention it, and it's like his yo-yo plays really unique, like the weight
Mhm.
distribution of it. So it's like that's something that a D-bearing, I feel like nowadays, really players would appreciate that more now. Like back in the day, it was just like yo-yo companies did anything to differentiate themselves.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was like, you know, H Spin was like the cool, sleek European
yeah,
brand, and
yeah.
like everyone had their own way to fit in or whatever. And yeah, now it's just everyone doing a lot of the same thing.
Yeah.
But
Like say, very homogenous. But
I forget where I was going with that, but oh, the D-bearing, yeah, I feel like the D-bearing really lends itself to that interesting weight distribution, and
for sure.
that's something that customers really appreciate now, and
Yeah.
won't, like I said back in the day, that was just like a choice that they had, and no, like the verbiage that yo-yo players use to describe yo-yos now is definitely, it's still not all the way there, or it's like when someone's describing like the branding of something when
Mhm.
it's really like the aesthetic, because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
the aesthetic is literally how this looks. Like the branding is like the overall look of the company.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but sometimes like a company won't have an overall look, so like the aesthetic will be very simple because it lacks branding,
Yeah,
which is like fine, but like it just, you know, splitting hairs when it comes down to the terminology of shit. And
Right.
like with yo-yo players now learning more about how yo-yos are designed,
Mhm.
being able to properly describe like floaty, or you know what I mean, being able to say like, oh, this yo-yo is larger than it should be and has like a weight distribution that's intended for a yo-yo that would be smaller than it normally
Yeah,
is, but
yeah.
it's heavier. So like
There's
that,
people getting more knowledgeable about it.
yeah, it's like really, really interesting
Yeah.
to me. So I think that like that's something that we could see a lot more of in the future is D-bearings. But I didn't know
Yeah.
that about Freshly Dirty. That's really awesome. Actually, I take that back. I did know. What was the yo? The Canary? Did you guys do
Yeah,
a
Canary.
D-bearing one?
Yeah,
Okay.
Canary was D-bearing, and then the NFR or the Untitled.
Was it much harder
2019.
for whoever you manufacture yo-yos with to make a D-bearing version?
not really.
You literally just send them the new CAD. And
Yeah,
you're like, all right,
yeah.
cool. Like that's
Yeah.
rad.
The company we work with is pretty chill about trying
That's
basically
dope.
whatever. So
Because I feel like a lot of factories would be kind of not weirded out, but it's like, why do you want to do this? Like no other brand does this. Or, you know what I mean? They
yeah,
don't
no,
ever
that's fair.
ask questions, but it's just like they always kind of like they want not justification, but it's like when you change something up, it's like very, very weird. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when everything.
Like, oh, we're
is-
used to doing it this way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like all the machines are calibrated
Yeah,
that
to do
way,
it that
so
way,
it's
yeah.
like it's gonna mess their whole
Gotta
shit
change
up
all
to
that.
do its
Yeah,
D-bearing, and it's
yeah.
like I get it, but I remember designing a yo-yo with Spy Steve, and like I didn't want to use a D-bearing at the time for
Yeah.
the first train wreck.
It was a big thing for him to like
Yeah,
have to
and-
switch it to a C-bearing.
Yeah, and he didn't really like explain to me at the time, and now that, you know, I know how long it takes to do
Yeah.
these things. I'm like, oh, it would have taken you hours to rewrite the CAD for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
C-bearing that you've never used before, and then it affects like because you have that spike where like the
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
walk
It affects
axle that would
it affects so many
yeah, you
other
have to
things.
reset
and, yeah.
so many things with the design.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool, I get it now, but like I'm some 16-year-old pump kid that's like, I'm really
Give me
good
the
at
C
yo-yos,
bearing.
so yeah, like give me a big bearing, and eventually I just settled with it, but like. And Steve used to always say that small bearings would be better for 5A anyway. Smaller bearings would be better for 5A anyway. So I was like, oh, maybe like a D bearing is a good in the middle size.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I don't know.
that's super interesting about Freshly Dirty and
Yeah.
D bearing. And like, again, I think that just harkens back to like how much thought and effort goes into the whole
Yeah.
design process.
Yeah.
And it's something that I can't remember the last time a manufacturer did a D bearing in a yo-yo. Do you know, other than H?
The last time, no, other than H-Spin, I don't think there's really been.
Like, I guess
been
Spy,
any sensor. Yes,
but that was like around the same time
around the same
H-Spin
time, yeah.
existed. So yeah,
it's like the those like remade pyros that came out not too long ago. I forget the company that makes them, but it was like
Oh,
I saw
yeah, yeah.
I saw them and I was like, oh yes, dude, like I would love to buy
C
a new
bearing.
pyro, and it was a C bearing, and I was like,
Oh, dude.
not a D bearing, not a pyro, and I didn't buy one. And I was like, get out of here!
That's
It's got to be a
so
D bearing.
funny. Yeah, that guy is a piece of work.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't really
he
know
does.
much about it, but I just
There's
saw that and I was psyched for a second. And I was really disappointed.
the two. I'll give you like a shortened version, but basically he approached Jensen about making a titanium version of the bowl or the what his yo-yo is called the bowl, but like what's the Jensen yo-yo called, the Grail.
The Grail.
Yeah. He was like, oh, I want to make a titanium Grail, and he like sent Jensen the cat already, like done. Like he like just he like 1-to-1 reverse engineered his Grail, and was like, oh cool, like I could just make a titanium version. Then Jensen was just like, LOL, like I would really prefer you not to do that. And then he was like, well, can I just make like a couple for me and some friends? And then he was like, if you like absolutely must do that, then like yeah, sure. And then like it quickly turned into a run of like 50 yo-yos or something. And then he made a monumental version, and then like now it's blossomed into him like licensing all these old designs. Like he made a titanium silver bullet.
Yeah.
He made like a, I don't know if it was a titanium pie or whatever. But to me, it's just like pillaging the old culture.
Kind of,
like, all these old people don't care about, you know, really doing their design justice. They're just like, oh, cool, you're going to give me a couple bucks per yo-yo. Or like, you know, Elvin, the guy who owns the company, is like a surgeon in whatever country he lives in. So it's like he can afford to make whatever he wants to
ball out a
and
bit.
pay whoever he wants to. Yeah, like that kind of stuff, like, just really upsets the balance in yo-yoing because we have such a small industry where it's just
that's
like,
fair.
You know, there should have been a company that could have done that justice, because like
and I'm sure it plays great, and I'm sure a lot of people really liked it, but like,
and it doesn't mean that someone can come along and can't do it differently or like do it justice to remake it, but just like you said, like it kind of bastardizes it. For
me being like a diehard H-Man fanboy, I was like this better be a D-bearing, and it wasn't,
really
and I was
whack,
like it's not a pyro, it can't be a pyro,
and
if it's
especially
not D-bearing.
because like no one nowadays is gonna qualm over that.
Yeah,
like, oh,
right.
I need a C-bearing. It's like people would still buy it, especially if it's like, no, this is like exactly how the yo-yo was.
Yeah,
back
like this
then,
is a pyro.
Yeah, that guy is.
Regardless,
else. But you said you guys are gonna make more rings for
more rims in the works.
Mod 44 or 44 mod?
Mod 44.
Mod 44. Okay.
Either way, 44
so
mod, whatever.
Can you give me some of the 3D printed?
Yeah.
Because this to me is so cool, and as 3D printing becomes more, it's already really great at home, but like as the concentricity with parts becomes better, like if you go to a professional shop and get like really nicely printed stuff, like the concentricity is like amazing. It's really crazy, and like it'd be funny to get some like really nice rings printed. Like it's funny because of getting them made in China would probably be less money than getting them 3D printed in America. Like,
probably,
like getting a run of like 20 rings would be.
These rims are actually like super cheap.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like compared to like getting these made.
Yeah.
But it's cool because at home anyone can just get like make whatever they want, or
and that was a big thing with the Mod 44 is like it was really kind of a big shout back to like the old mod community and the old like DIY aspects of yo-yoing that have really been lost over the years.
So there's an entendre of like modular, but then also
and also being a mod, and so really cool. And so this having this like kind of open source platform for yo-yo design was kind of like our iteration of the mod scene from back in the day.
Yeah, and
so I feel like it's a really cool. A really cool platform that we're going to see some really cool stuff with. I can't wait to go to a contest again and someone to come over and be like, oh, look at this set of rims that I printed. I got a bag full of these sweet rims. And to have people be able to like, trade the rims and design their own things and try different stuff. I think it's going to be a really cool opportunity for.
And it's going to indirectly create new designers, because like people are going to buy this yo-yo and be like, oh, I want to make my own rims, and be like, how do I do that?
And we've got like open source stuff on the Freshly Dirty website,
cool. Let me go do
and
it.
like the basic design shape of a rim, so you have everything to work off of.
That's super rad.
So a lot of the yo-yo has been about kind of empowering people to design and create again, and also to be able to provide, like we like to call it, the mod support, is provide more iterations of things like this. So I really feel like we've talked about, there's been a lot of modular yo-yos in the past, but I think where all those companies failed is they don't continue to iterate on it. Like Word came out with, they had the split decision, the indecision, a few other, the mystery meat, a few other like weird variants of it, but it really wasn't.
It's so funny how Stu would like do that with it. Like he was great at the the merchandising of like,
Yeah.
oh, let's use this one design and we can do 3 different bearings or change
Yeah,
this one
yeah,
rim
exactly.
and do it.
We'll beefcake it. Yeah.
And it's great. Like it's great from a production standpoint, but it's like super interesting to me because like yeah, I always see random pictures of like other yo-yos with press fit rims that he made, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like
Yeah,
I've
and you're
never
like,
seen that before.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, our big goal is to be able to continue creating stuff for this for years to come. New
Yeah.
hubs, new shapes.
that's awesome. And now that 3D
new
printers
materials
are
and stuff like
becoming more
that.
prevalent,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah, new materials.
Yeah.
Holy hell, that's awesome.
Yeah, we have there's a pair of prototyped steel rims
That's
that are
sick.
floating around. I don't think they play very well because they were machined a while back, but
Yeah.
you know, there's so many ideas floating around, and we always
Yeah.
come up with new random ideas. Like I've been trying to get Arthur to print me the a set of rims that are like the full constraint of his 3D printer. So
Mm.
like, you know, like a foot wide rim. He hasn't done it for me yet, but I'm gonna get him one day.
That's rad. What's so awesome about this yo-yo, I feel like for the first time in a long time, is like when I first started getting into yo-yoing again, the players were outweighing the actual equipment. So like you buy a freehand zero, it's not performing to what you need it to, so you have to modify it. And
Yeah.
like this is the first yo-yo in a long time that's now like outperforming the player, where it's like this is doing more than you can do with it.
Yeah,
In a way.
yeah.
Like this is doing more than like what you could do. Like it's not just one.
It's a cool way to put it. Yeah.
It's really interesting to think about. Yeah, like and the what's gonna become of it, because like like when yo-yos were that bad, it created such a weird ingenuity and like, can't like creativity just to get your yo-yos to play right, that everyone
Yeah,
was like,
it's like pulling out a fresh pair of Raiders and having to spend 2 hours modding them before they actually worked right.
yeah,
you
you
know?
end up learning so much about
Yeah,
how yo-yos work in the process.
And like tuning a yo-yo, like that's something that's completely lost and that you have to do on these on occasion.
Yeah.
And so like it was definitely kind of a challenge approaching it like that, because we were like, new players like don't know how to, they never had a BAPE or an EAT
Right,
that
they
you have
don't
to
know how
sit
to
there
tune
and
stuff,
tune for
yeah.
hours to get it to play just
Right.
right. And we were worried that it would like set people off, but you know,
Nah.
it's we like to remind everybody that, you know, it's a toy and like it may not play perfectly smooth,
Right.
but it's, you know, it's
I mean,
an experimental platform, really.
yeah, there's always good metaphors you can use for yo-yos to other things in life.
Yeah.
And I very often compare different parts of yo-yos to different parts of cars, even though I know
That's
like,
fair, yeah.
not a lot about cars. But it's like every time you are disassembling parts of your car and reassembling them, like they fit differently. It's not
Mhm.
gonna drive the same. Like,
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with a yo-yo. Like that's why a lot of people don't take their yo-yos apart, is because like they think as soon as they take their yo-yo apart, it's gonna mess up
not
the
gonna play the
concentricity of the
same. Yeah.
bearing seat. Yeah, and in some cases it does, but it's like you made a really bad yo-yo if that's the
Yeah.
case, where like as soon as you take it apart, it's never gonna play the same again. But harping again on like players and their equipment and how like they stack up against each other, like this is also really interesting because it's the first time that like it's like so many companies, like Duncan a few years back released a yo-yo that had so many pieces that it came, like it was a modular
Mhm.
yo-yo,
Yeah,
but it had
yeah.
different like outer pieces, and like it played okay
Yeah.
for modern style tricks, but it wasn't as good as something like this.
Yeah.
And then other brands like Word that did one had like obvious design flaws or whatever. So like it's very cool that like the equipment itself is to a point where it's like on par with the player, but then
Mhm.
also like the modifications and stuff outside of that are also like those are kind of going beyond the player
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
it's really giving people a lot more options. It's just like it's interesting to create a product that has way more shelf life and application than just what you put it out as.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure.
it's just so interesting.
And I think
to
in the
me.
long run, it's going to be a great value because you buy a hub and then, you know, rims are going to be, a new pair of rims is going to be super cheap. And, you know,
Yeah.
if you know someone that 3D prints them, you know, it's like,
Right, and hubs will be cheap
it's like
too.
25 cents to print one of these if you have
Yeah.
a 3D printer, you know, it's,
And
so
most
yeah.
kids' schools eventually are probably gonna have 3D
Yeah. The
printers,
schools and like
probably
public
for having
libraries and stuff like that.
plastic for free. Yeah.
Yeah.
like-
So it's, yeah, we're psyched on it. It's definitely
yeah.
a long time coming, but it turned out really nice.
But
so.
it's worth the time and effort, because
Yeah,
like this
absolutely.
is a timeless thing that like you guys can make like literally for the next 10 years,
Yeah,
probably. And like even if someone else comes out with something similar, like it's gonna be like you guys are the original. Like you put like
yeah,
a big,
original, yeah, but
a big stamp on the map. I mean,
it was
I think,
definitely
like
yeah, it was definitely like, we wouldn't have gotten to this point without people like Word or like Core Code that have done it in the past and that we've been able
yeah,
to look at and learn from.
for
And
sure.
so
I mean, your guys is different than Corco's. I
yeah,
feel like, but
definitely a bit different, but
and it's like it's never about who did it first to me. It's always about who does it best because like that's what's gonna stand the test of time. And like
exactly, yeah.
at like as someone like I've never been like a super innovative yo-yo player trick wise, but like participating in the culture and trying to like develop the community, it's like being the first at anything, no one gets credit doing that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
everybody who owns a business always wants to be first,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like there's so much value in being first,
Yeah.
and it's like
You go to any World Yo-Yo contest
Sure.
nowadays and you watch 1A files, and we all know the person that won.
right,
And then
yeah.
and then it's
Yeah,
like, oh, award
exactly.
ceremony, whatever. Okay, cool.
Yeah, everyone tries to strike while the iron is hot, or like make what they think is gonna be cool, and then it's like it doesn't really matter. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
same thing could be cool 3 or 4 years from now, and it's like no one's
And
gonna.
someone's just
remember
gonna do
that.
it better. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, remember when this person did it?" No one's gonna say that if this person did it better.
Yeah, right.
It's I think it's one of the 48 lost power.
Oh, man.
So let's go over some of your other hobbies other than
Yeah, sure.
yo-yo, because like we were saying, like the Mountain Man is kind of inspired by your love of outdoor
Mm-hmm.
activities, and you'd mentioned at the beginning of the podcast you've worked at a mountain climbing. Is it a facility or a gym?
A
Mountain
rock climbing gym.
Rock
Yeah,
climbing gym.
yeah.
Yeah, for 8 years now, or going
Yeah.
on a decade, or
Yeah, 8 years or so.
yeah. So
And
how
I-
did you get into that? Because I guess there is this a mountainous region, Richmond, Virginia? Or
Not like well there are a good number there's a few boulders like down by the river, but
Mm-hmm.
we're an hour and a half from the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is some really great bouldering. We're 4 hours away from New River Gorge, which
neither
is
of those are easy to get to. Like yo-yos, you
No,
can
it's-
play this at the crib. But
I mean,
like,
yeah,
you gotta-
for sure. It's definitely
yeah,
like
drive an hour.
it's
I
definitely
guess-
a bit of endeavor, but like going on a day trip out to the mountains,
True. And when you go to the gym to learn something, you can kind of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is everything okay? Okay. Yeah. So
But yeah, there's a lot of good climbing areas within a day trip or a weekend trip from here, so it's a really nice spot for climbing. But yeah, Peak Experiences is a local gym that's been around for 23 years or something like
Yeah.
that, 22 years, and so I climbed there as a younger kid.
Yeah. how quickly did you get the job there? Oh, you said as a younger kid.
Yeah, well, I climbed there as a younger kid, and I got back into it in college,
Mhm.
and it took me a while to get a job there. I applied a few times and never got accepted, and then I volunteered. So, as I'll say, my job is it's called a route setter,
Okay.
and so basically, excuse me. So basically, when you go into a gym, there's the holds that are on the wall, and you climb them in as you follow one color hold bottom to
Yeah.
top, and so it's my job to go in there and to put the holds on the wall in a way that makes sense and makes your body move a certain way and makes it a certain
So
difficulty.
you're basically like designing.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
That's so rad. Yeah.
So it's a super fun and really creatively based endeavor. But
yeah, and I'm sure you have to like test them. And,
oh yeah,
like,
and it takes a good knowledge of climbing movement and how the body works. And
Are you thinking about that a lot? Like, do you get? It's funny because, like, for yo-yo ideas, I can jot down certain things in my phone, or like even
Mhm,
now,
yeah.
like with, like you can like make a quick sketch of something. Like, do you ever do that in your phone?
Yeah,
with
for sure.
Climbing routes.
yeah,
or,
like I'll pull out my sketchbook and draw like a cool orientation of like some holds or something that'll look cool on the wall, or just a random movement that I have in my mind.
That's rad. Yeah. And then you, like you said, you kind of have to set each route for like different skill levels and
Yeah,
things like
yeah.
that. So like,
It's definitely a really cool skill, and it's it takes a while to learn and to get really good at. But I've been doing it for 8 years now, and now it's my my full-time job aside
yeah. I mean, 8 years isn't that long. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, you applied a few times and like
Yeah.
you had to volunteer to kind of like work your way.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's a very like, it's like yo-yo where it's a tight knit community and family, and like there's
For sure,
probably a lot
yeah.
of people who go to the gym and like just climm casually, and it's like who
Mhm.
doesn't want to have a job at the cool rock climbing
Yeah,
gym?
right.
But it's like, they want to make sure that you really are passionate and
Yeah,
are up
for
to
sure.
snuff and not gonna just like
Yeah.
use this opportunity or whatever. But yeah, it's super interesting that like how quickly you apply your passion, because like with yo-yo the same way, where you were like
Yeah.
super into it, so like you very quickly were like, you said you started yo-yoing in 2007, and then 2011 you were placing top 3 in
Yeah.
the nation. Like that's a very quick progression.
Yeah,
you
for
know
sure.
what I mean, so it's almost
It's just kind of my personality. I like to find like weird, unique, niche hobbies and just get really good at them, And so like over the COVID quarantine, like me and my roommate got into astrophotography, So like taking
astral photography.
astrophotography. Yeah. So
Yeah.
taking pictures of
Astro or
Astro.
Astral? Okay, Astro.
so taking pictures of galaxies
Yeah,
and
that's
nebula and stuff
crazy.
like that.
How do you do that with a telescope?
Yeah,
or-
telescope and a star tracking rig. So it's a
Holy
rig that
shit.
rotates at the same pace that Earth spins to counteract the movement of the stars in the night sky. And then it's basically long exposure photography from there. So
That's
it's just like a weird niche thing that you're like, oh, this is super cool. Let me learn everything I can about it.
Yeah, but you have to know so much, I'm sure, about like the
Oh, yeah.
equipment, and then you have to
Yeah.
learn about the solar.
It's a
system,
super
and, like-
frustrating hobby because there's like always little problems and you're like, oh, if I could just throw like $5,000 at this problem, it would fix itself instantly.
That's insane.
but I can't do that.
It's
So
like a picture of the solar
Yeah.
system, like. But I get it. I mean, it's funny because when you read about astronauts talking about how epic going into space is, and it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
next to
dude,
my-
I would die to go to space, man.
That's wild.
Oh, yeah.
They said that with zero hesitation. I would die to go to
Dude.
space.
Dude, if someone's like, you want to go to Mars tomorrow? Like, first off, imagine all the rock climbs that are there that have never been touched.
Oh my god.
Go to Mars, all the first ascents you want.
That's wild.
It'd be sick. And the gravity's 1/3 of Earth's. Oh, it'd be sweet.
Oh, it'd be really easy to climb.
yeah, it'd
there,
be so easy to climb.
Wow, I've never thought about
Exactly.
that. That's
It'd be so.
interesting.
It would be so much fun.
Damn, that's wild.
Exactly. Yeah. You want a 40-foot dino? Just.
That's such a dope idea.
It
I
would
love
be
how we're
sweet.
talking about it like it's just going to Maine or something. Like,
Yeah.
just
No.
real quick. Damn, that's a wild concept. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
But
It'd be sweet.
damn, that's
That's the
awesome.
type of rock climbing thing you think about. You're like, man, what would it be like rock climbing on Mars, dude? That'd probably be
I
pretty
mean,
sick.
that's. I think anyone who has those type of hobbies applies that type of weird, like, oh, how could I do this here? Like,
yeah.
when you skateboard and you like look at stairs different,
Yeah,
or like
for
a
sure, for
ledge or
sure.
whatever different. It's like I'm sure it's
Same
the same
idea,
thing with
yeah.
rock climbing. Yeah.
You look at a building and you're like, I could totally climb that thing.
Yeah,
right now
that's
if I
wild.
wanted to. Yeah.
I would never even. Think. I'm sure I've looked at things and thought that, but like in my never allowed.
But climbing gives you the ability to be confident.
right.
About
You're
it.
like look at that shit. and You're like I could legit climb
yeah.
that.
Yeah. You're like, oh no, that's
I
like a
could not.
V2. I could do that.
That's wild.
Easy.
Yeah. But that's awesome, and I mean, it's just a testament to your character, I think, and how, like you said, like you're a super passionate guy, but like, it's not easy to hone that focus and to like,
Yeah, for sure.
really, because people become passionate about things. It's so easy to get burnt out, and like, even with something like climbing or yo-yoing, that's so limitless as far as the potential and like.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's funny because every time I get burnt out on yo-yo, I really take a step back and I'm like, I need to be more thankful and like think about where all my options are. Of like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to work on teaching more and work on my tutorials more and not just because I'll get so stuck in the loop of like, oh, I'm like really into fashion. I wish that yo-yo players are into fashion more. And it's like,
Yeah.
meanwhile, like I make yo-yos that can't stay in stock, and it's like there's brands that would kill to have that type of
Right,
condition,
exactly,
and I'm like,
yeah.
buy my t-shirt, please.
Please.
Like, no one wants it. Okay, like I guess I'll make more plastic yo-yos. Gosh, like, and you just it's all perception, but like it's cool to have that drive, and it's
Yeah.
like
And it's the
don't
nice
know.
thing is like now I have so many different hobbies and passions that I can always switch between. So like, yeah, there's times where I don't yo-yo for a month or two, and I like I take a step back and I focus on my art, or I focus on taking pictures of stars or something like that, and then eventually I come back around and I'm like, oh, so yeah, let's just play yo-yo. And it's the same with like kendama or climbing. You know?
But
Like
you're-
recently I haven't been climbing too much just because, well, I climb a ton for work.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
but it's your
that's part of
job,
it.
so
It is
it's
my
like-
job. So yeah, and it's a constant ebb and flow, but I just have 14 things that I can ebb and flow between. So it works out.
That really helps you. That like focus, like we were talking about, though, that you harness with your passion, like really helps being able to ebb and flow between all the hobbies. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
There's a long time where I won't yo-yo either for months on end or weeks on end.
Yeah.
And then like as soon as you get back, you're like a little rusty and you shake it off for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit, and then you get back into it and it's like, man, I'm really good at this. Like
Yeah,
I forgot
yeah, exactly.
how good this is and like how much I know and like just the sheer amount of knowledge you have
Yeah.
about this one thing. So it's like applied across, a lot of different boards.
Yeah, for sure.
What have you been into any other COVID activities? Anything new or like other
yeah.
than because you can't I guess you've probably still been climbing, but like
Oh yeah, I've still been working and climbing.
because you can kind of distance with that. Or
Yeah, I
like,
mean, we follow all.
how do you
the-
guys disinfect the wall? Do you just like
Chalk,
spray?
chalk is actually a natural disinfectant.
Really?
It is, yeah.
I'm trying to think what else we could cover before we talked about climbing. We talked about yo-yos.
Talk about how Virginia State was the best contest, regardless international.
Dude, oh, it's so easy. It's
It's a no contest.
yeah, it's no contest. It's just the best community, the best vibe. I mean, plus we've had you've won it, Yuki's won it, Sam's won it, Sebi's won it. There's been so many like prolific yo-yoers that have come through there and performed.
Where
and,
else can you see?
Oh, it's also one of the first contests of the year.
It is.
Most
It is
of the
like
time,
the
it is the first contest of the year. That's
that fresh year.
Yeah.
That's the
it's
fly
and it's
part
always
about
it's
it.
always like the one state contest that like people like really prepare for and try for, and then you have people from like Massachusetts that come down, come all the way down for it. It's the best.
And there's no other contest that you can see a statue of Robert E. Lee, and also
heavily spray painted now. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He went on the highway. I was like, I got to mind.
Yeah.
No,
it's wild to see. now.
Virginia's great. That's why I got it
Yeah.
tatted on me.
Yeah.
It's a red state. You know? Is there anything else you want to cover? Do you want to plug any Freshly Dirty stuff before we say goodbye?
Yeah. Just keep an eye on the Freshly Dirty Instagram page.
Is it just at Freshly Dirty?
At Freshly Dirty. You can check me out on Instagram at Kerf Money.
All one word.
Yep, all one word, Kerf Money. Just keep an eye out there. We're definitely working on a lot of stuff and keeping things fresh, keeping things dirty. That's what we do.
Keeping things fresh, keeping things dirty. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for hosting me in the house.
Oh, yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do right now. Ate some delicious pizza here in Richmond. What was the name of it? 1/8?
8.5.
666-69-420. Get some pizza from there. No, it said it's 8.5, right?
8.5.
I forgot it that quick. It was delicious. Yeah, go get
Yeah,
some.
super good.
But that was the goods. Thanks everyone again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Drop a comment below for who else I should interview. Thanks again. Peace.
Thanks, man.